Oh my gosh. Hello, YouTube. Good evening. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's staying safe. Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to begin, man. Um, First and foremost, I'm going to do a video of Evander Kane. I'm going to record that tonight. Evander Kane declared Chapter 7 bankruptcy after making $52 million. I don't know how the hell that happened. Just stay tuned for that video. Uh, as you see the title of this video, yes, I'm talking about the NBA. There's some things that we must talk about. But first and foremost, and most of y'all have now seen it. When it first happened, I thought it was fake. But James Harden was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Lethal Weapon 2.5. And I'm gonna tell you why I said lethal. I'm gonna tell you in a bit why I said Lethal Weapon 2.5. I was completely shocked by that trade. I did not think it was going to happen. Listen, we knew if y'all looked at the video I made a couple weeks ago with James Harden and Kyrie Irving, we knew that the way the relationship between James Harden and the Houston Rockets were heading towards like a bitter divorce. We know that. Okay? But Raphael Stone, I have to give him credit because he was not going to trade a disgruntled star without getting investments for the future. And when you look at what they got Brooklyn 3 first rounders, Milwaukee first round pick, and then 4 Brooklyn first round swaps. Now I'm gonna tell you, in my personal opinion, who won, winner and loser of the trade. One, I'm gonna say loser, Jared Allen. Jared Allen was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm a little confused on what their future is. Because they have, as of now, Andre Drummond, Kevin Love, Larry Nance, now Jared Allen, and they got a load of big men. So I don't know where it's going to go. Kalis LeVert, who I think is going to be an all-star. He was traded to the Pacers. Okay? Victor Oladipo is traded to the Houston Rockets. I think it's a fresh restart for Oladipo. You know, before that injury, you know, to me, I saw a turnaround on Oladipo. Now with a backcourt with him and Wall in Houston, like the Houston Rockets, I told you in that video, I said that they were going to be fine. They were going to be okay with or without James Harden. Now, the Eastern Conference, if you are the Milwaukee Bucks, particularly, I think you lost this. You lost in some way in this trade. Even though I think it's unfair to Giannis Antetokounmpo when you've paid Chris Middleton almost as he's a star. You know, you got Drew Holiday. I think you're now James Harden, Kevin Durant, and if he's even interested in playing basketball right now, Kyrie Irving, in your way to get a championship. And then also, obviously, the jury, to me, in my personal opinion, I think the jury is out on the New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. I just think it is. Until I see where Kyrie Irving's head is right now, it's the way I have an issue with James Harden. Because you really tried to see where it was trying to work, plain and simple. Raphael Stone, they tried to make it work. He didn't want to be there anymore, and I get it. Their window, the championship was to close. He didn't want to play with Dwight Howard. He didn't want Kevin McHale as his head coach. Let him go. He didn't want to play with Chris Paul. Let him go. Russell Westbrook, and you're hearing all different things when they're in the bubble. How he's late to film study, how he's this, how he's that. Westbrook's gone. Then you're hearing John Wall, and DeMarcus Cousins talking about this is the first time they've heard the disrespect. So we know that that locker room for quite some time, even with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins being there, for the most part has been toxic. Now that James Harden's now alongside his buddy KD, if I'm Steve Nash, if I'm Kevin Durant, even if I'm Sean Marks, listen, what happened in Houston, you leave it at the door. Okay? We gave up a lot for you. It's championship or bust. If y'all remember, and this team is nowhere different. I'm a little concerned because if y'all remember, they tried to assemble a team like this, but with two aging stars that were out their primes. When they gave Darren Williams $98 million, and then they paid Joe Johnson, I believe it was like $100-something million. You had Gerald Wallace, Brooke Lopez, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett in that field. And I believe it was either the first or second round that they lost to the Hawks. Like I said, Brooklyn gave up a lot for you, James. And I don't know, and I'm not trying to say that Brooklyn made a mistake. I don't think it was going to be Philadelphia. There was just no way they were going to give up Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was most likely going to be traded, but I don't think they were willing to give him up without getting something big in return. But I think, for the most part, I think everybody's happy. It just what a time if you are a Rockets fan. But I already know that everyone's gonna be looking for a Nets jersey. So let's just see what Lethal Weapon 2.5 is gonna look like. Now, the reason why I said Lethal Weapon 2.5, Kyrie Irving. Listen, I cannot stress this enough. I'm a fan of Kyrie Irving. You know, what he has done off the field, off the court, when it comes to bringing awareness to social injustices, giving back to the community. I cannot stress how important that is. But Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, on the court. On the court. I have an issue with that. Because when you look at the recent behavior of Kyrie Irving, one would argue that, one, you don't seem interested in playing basketball. Two, mental health. Three, spoiled. When you're hearing, did not give Steve Nash a reason to not playing against the 76ers. And then you're hearing he didn't want Steve Nash as the coach. He wanted to coach himself. When back in the summer, according to multiple reports, he and Kevin Durant signed off on this. Now you're hearing something different. Now you're hearing, you hear one thing. If it's not one thing, you hear another thing. And now Kyrie Irving has found himself, and to me, this is where, if you are a teammate, if you're Kevin Durant, if you're James Harden, you're Steve Nash, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, this is where you might want to start. Either you have an intervention, or you might think, get rid of him. His sister and his dad had birthdays. Kyrie Irving, maskless, mostly all of them that were in the video. I'll leave that in the description for y'all to see. Not socially distanced. Is a violation of the league's protocols. When you see him on Zoom with a district attorney before the game, it lets me know where Kyrie Irving is right now. His head's just not right now with basketball. Now, I'm not going to go the route like Stephen A. Smith said this morning on First Take and say retire. But I think you need to either take some time away from the game to either, bring awareness to social injustices, because last year in Orlando, you didn't want to play and you told multiple people we can start our own league. However, and I was having a conversation with the legends. They know who they are. And we were all sitting there and we were going, particularly Cameron and I, well, really, Cameron said it even, he said, well, ever really since Kobe's passed away, which would be a year in about a week and a half. Something about him's just been different. But I tend to disagree. It goes back to after they lost to Golden State. He didn't want to share the limelight with LeBron. He wanted his own team. He wanted to be the man. He gets traded to Boston. Same type of behavior. Not happy. Calling out certain teammates. By the way, they got to a Game 7 without you. You're traded to Brooklyn. I cannot remember what game it was after, but it was a post-game interview, and I'm basically paraphrasing it, but he was saying, we have glaring holes, weaknesses, where we just need another piece or two. Basically saying, if you're not Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie, Caris LeVert, and others, I want you essentially traded. If you look at it, they have given him the keys to the franchise when in Boston and Brooklyn. But it just kind of seems like you're still not satisfied. So the question is, what more do you want? What's the issue? Because to me, you got people that are talking. And they're saying, if he continues down this road, he's going to find himself out the league with this type of behavior. Because every game that he's going to miss, I believe the number is $460,000 a game that he does not play. And every time he doesn't play, for some unknown reason, fine him until he gets the point. But if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you might want to start thinking about your options. Because he could potentially jeopardize y'all winning a finals. And this may just be me, hypothetically. Even though I'm excited to see Russell Westbrook, I was beyond shocked that he was traded for John Wall, Russell Westbrook. Why not? Hypothetically, I know it will never happen. If they reached out and say, "Hey, we'll take Kyrie Irving off your hands for Russell Westbrook, reunite the three, Harden, KD, Westbrook." I know that's not going to happen. But what you're seeing right now from Kyrie Irving, he does not have his eggs in the basket. His priorities are all over the place. But if you would think about it, somebody in his inner circle, whether it's family or friends, particularly what you saw in that video, common sense would have told you, Um, Masks, socially distancing. If you have 5, 10 people over, that's fine. But I'm just really disappointed with Kyrie Irving right now. I really am, and he's one of my favorite basketball players. One of my favorite. This behavior that you're seeing, it's not cool. And like I said, if you're an NBA executive, the question I have for you is plain and simple: are you taking a chance on a guy like Kyrie Irving? Because I'm trying to bring up a quote for y'all, and it's being dumb. Give me a second. Here we go. The New York Post. This was Steve Nash. Here we go. I hate to continue with this thread, but I'm not going to really comment on it either. The details of the Ruins of Kyrie situation. I don't know that it will get us anywhere today. Apologies, sorry, said Steve Nash. This was a question basically about Kyrie and the situation in Brooklyn. And like I said, I think if you're the Nets, I think you just need to really think about your options. I just don't think what you're seeing right now, to me, that's why I said Lethal Weapon 2.5. I'm not going to say his nickname, but to me, honestly and truthfully, I'm a leave. Never mind. let me leave it right there with Kyrie Irving. Let me leave it there. Let me leave it there. But my next topic, let me pull it up. George Hill. You know, the one thing about these athletes today, it's amazing to me how, in the midst of what the times that we're in right now, even though some may have to take a pay cut, um, you know, they don't have to worry about a bill not getting paid. You know, is there going to be food on the table tomorrow, or standing and at a food bank from 2, 3, 4 miles? Some of these athletes are very fortunate, and they don't realize how good they really have it. George Hill, Oklahoma Thunder, in a press conference. I'm leaving this in the description for y'all to see. Quote: I'm a grown man. I'm going to do what I want to do. If I want to see my family, I'm going to see my family. They can't tell me I have to stay in a room 24/7. If it's that serious, then maybe we shouldn't be playing. But it's life. No one's going to be able to cancel their whole life for this game. We want to play the game, but I don't understand some of the rules, George Hill said. We could sweat 48 minutes with the guy next to us for 48 minutes, but we can't talk to them afterwards. It makes no sense. You see, I'm hoping what he said was in the heat of the moment. Because let me say this. I said it with the NFL. I said it with Major League Baseball. And I'm going to ask with the NBA. The NBA last season had an extraordinary bubble that went well with 0 COVID tests. As of today, there are 16 NBA players that have tested positive for COVID. And on top of that, games are being postponed due to contact tracing. Meaning, if Russell Westbrook has COVID, okay, was Bradley Beal, was Robin Lopez, was Bertans, etc. Who was around Russell Westbrook, for example? But let me say this. Just like the NFL's Player Association, Major League Baseball's Player Association, Chris Paul, Michelle Roberts, and the players agreed to have the season go forward. George Hill, it is your choice whether or not you want to play. You could have sat out, even though it was going to cost you some dollars, some greenbacks. You are a grown man. Listen, when anytime someone starts off a anything by saying I'm a grown man, I'm a grown woman, you know they're going to say something that makes absolutely no sense. Let me give you an example. Where I work, the office I work in. Gentleman comes in, has an appointment, and we tell him, well, the person that has been trying to contact you has emailed you numerous times, and you're running late. And his response was, I'm a grown man. Grown men don't check their emails. Just an example. But the point that I'm trying to make is with George Hill. George Hill, you chose to play this season. Listen, you said if you want to go see your family, I have no issue with that. But I don't understand, particularly with today's society, and particularly the times that we're in, when you have, for example, Los Angeles, new lockdown measures. Why? Because people aren't wearing masks, they're not socially distancing, and they're most likely trapped, and you heard from a couple states, the new COVID variant. People are not taking this serious. What you saw last Wednesday in D.C., all those that stormed the Capitol, maskless, and it would not faze me if some of them had COVID. Alabama, Roll Tide, congratulations. Super spreader. But, yet again, look at New Zealand, for example. COVID free. Why? Because they followed the measures, the protocol. Wearing the mask, socially distancing. If that's too much for you, then maybe you shouldn't play. But I understand from a mental perspective, this is waning on people mentally. I get it. Everybody wants to go back to what it was pre-COVID life. I understand it. I get it. It's wearing on us mentally. But in order for us to do our part, we all have to stick together. Listen, there are going to be days where it's troubling. It's frustrating. I understand that. But when you hear these kind of comments, it lets me know just the type of thinking we have in society today. And then when you have people here on YouTube or other platforms telling you, don't do this, don't do that, and not telling you the consequence that you made, not telling you that your consequences are going to come back to haunt you. When you see politicians, for example, don't want to wear a mask, and some of them have COVID, example, I gave it Kemar Silverand, Dwayne Haskins, Kemar Silverand, bring a woman into, try and disguise a woman as a team official at the hotel to clap cheeks. Dwayne Haskins, trying to invite family to the team hotel, when that absolutely is a no-no. Major League Baseball, Mike Clevenger, Zach Plesac, having a guy's night on the town, and could have potentially, at the time, put those members of the Cleveland Indians at risk of getting COVID. But I'm going to ask this question because no one seems to answer it. Nobody wants to answer it for me. So I'm going to ask it again. What is wrong with a bubble system? What's wrong with that? I don't understand. When you look at the NBA, 0 cases. Even though when we had some instances of guys coming in and out the bubble, which made no sense to me. Even though once they came back, they had to quarantine for a certain amount of days. Example. Sweet Lou Wayne Williams. Going to a gentleman club to look at thighs and whatever. For 20 minutes. I don't understand what's wrong with the bubble system. NFL. Same instance. No, we don't want a bubble. We can handle this. We're adults. We're grown men. We don't need a system. The Denver Broncos played against the New Orleans Saints. And I saw that game. And it was disgusting to watch. Where they had a practice squad quarterback who was a wide receiver. 3 quarterbacks could not play. They even asked the NFL, could their coach dress up, and told him no. That was embarrassing to watch. When you have the Baltimore Ravens, they had the most COVID cases throughout the league. And what you saw shorthanded, particularly against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Came back and made the playoffs. When you see the San Francisco 49ers having to go to the Arizona for 5 weeks because of the way California is right now. Major League Baseball, Ian Desmond sitting out because of social injustices, but then happens to talk about the culture in the locker room of the Colorado Rockies. Buster Posey adopting 2 twin girls. Now I'm going to ask the question again. What's wrong with the bubble system? And without bringing the families into this, do you feel like to me, when I look at the NBA, this is helping the players out. It's helping them. It's protecting them from getting COVID. When you didn't have to see with the NFL for damn near 2 whole damn weeks, where you're thinking, wow, the season might be postponed until everyone has their eggs in a basket. I made a whole video on that. What George Hill has to understand, and I have the guidelines here, and I want you to understand this. I'm gonna read them to y'all. Minimum 2-week rope. This is a minimum 2-week window for the protocol that the NBA is trying to tightening up. Players and staff must remain at residence or hotel other than for team activities, outside exercise, or essential activities. Pre-game meetings and locker room are limited to 10 minutes. All attendees must wear a mask. Players must limit pre- and post-game interactions to elbow or fist bump, avoid extended socializing. More enforcement of mask wearing. I do not see what's wrong with that, George Hill. I do not see what's wrong with that. If you cannot be a little more open, flexible with these rules, then you, sir, can just say, you know what? I don't want to play. But I guarantee you, it would not faze me if other players are thinking like this. Would not faze me. One bit. It won't. All I'm saying is at the end of the day, when you look at those, I'm thinking about those who've been furloughed, lost jobs, behind on bills, being evicted, can't put food on the table. Yet, here's George Hill, who's made an absorbent amount of money in his career. And I'm not getting on George Hill because to get on. I'm trying to make a point. These athletes have it easy compared to the average 9-to-5 person. If you can't follow some simple rules, that to me, then you shouldn't be playing at all. Because wearing the mask not only protects you, George, it protects me, and it protects your family. But again, I understand it. It's mentally, this is just a mental, it wears on people mentally. Everyone's handling it differently, and I understand that. But George Hill, to me, made a commitment when the season started. You don't want to play? Don't play. But understand, you're losing money. And for those that continue to be led by the blind, when they're telling you, don't wear the mask. It's okay not to wear the mask. It's okay to do this. It's okay to break rules. Think about the consequences. All I'm going to say with that. I'm not going to keep you along with this. I wanted to make this video with the NBA. Ooh. I'm excited. But on this video, I'm hoping to have it premiered in a little bit. Hopefully tonight. The Evander Kane video should be up as well tonight, hopefully. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace. Stay up, y'all.